Good afternoon, everyone. In today's video, we're going to use all of our squeeze tools to bring together a setup inside of Seagate. Now, the setup that's forming is a bullish setup. However, by the end of this video, you'll see why I like the bearish side a little bit more. Instead of just talking discretionary, we're going to back this up with real stats, and you'll see how we get to Seagate, even for a false breakout here to the upside, through a systematic process. Now, the first step is running the scan. This is what got Seagate on my radar along with 3 other stocks. This is our squeeze signal scan. For all of our Volatility Box members, just head over to tosindicators.com/squeeze-course. And there, if you click download squeeze tools, you'll get all of the tools that I talk about in today's video. Specifically, we're going to be using the tools from modules 2, module 6, and module 14, the squeeze signals backtester. Now, if I start first with the squeeze signals scan, we had 4 different results that showed up. I sorted by volume, and at the very top, we have Seagate, ticker symbol STX. So I loaded in a chart of STX, and I'm going back 5 years. Now, I started with the clean chart first. And on this clean chart, the most obvious thing that stands out to me is the swing high to swing low. I used the Fibonacci retracements tool here to take that swing high and swing low and gather some extensions. Now it just so happens that with today's candle, we crossed the 1618 extension at 161.05. Typically, once we cross this 1618 extension, which is our golden ratio, we see price take a little bit of a breather. So that's our first hint against the bullish side here. The fact that we've tagged this 1618 extension. Now that's still a little bit more discretionary. So let's start to try and add some real numbers to this. If I load back in our indicator set, you should notice that we have the squeeze signal arrows plotting. Those are these blue arrows here, and we have 4 of them plotting. That tells us that we can now run our backtester to understand what is the performance of these signals. How effective are they? So to do that, I'm going to load in our squeeze signals backtester. That's right here. And I'm also going to load in our triple squeeze indicator so we can see the actual squeeze forming. If I click apply, now we can see the squeeze down here on our charts along with the P&L histogram bar that gives us an idea of the performance of this particular strategy. Now you should notice this immediate red histogram bar. If I zoom out, there's been periods where it's been green, but most recently this P&L has dipped to red. That tells us that the strategy has not been profitable. So that's another clue. This is now an empirical clue that tells us that even though we see all of these bullish arrows here suggesting this squeeze that's been building up should fire long, more often than not, we see that this squeeze tends to fire more towards the bearish side. Now let's take a look at the stats that we see in the top left-hand corner. We can see that the total number of winners versus losers, 3 versus 2, and that's only over 5 trades. That gives us a 60% win rate, which might sound good. However, we don't have a large sample size. So I'm a little bit wary in terms of the win rate here. If you move to the next set of labels, this tells you what is the size of the average winner versus the average loser. Notice how the average loser is nearly 3 times larger than the average winner. That's another sign to give us pause. So far we have a squeeze that we think is likely to fire short, stats that aren't helping the squeeze, a golden ratio that has been tagged. All of these to me are signs for why I'm looking more for this squeeze to roll over and fire short. Now the question is, when or how soon do we think this is likely to happen? Well, if you take a look at the last set of labels here, that tells you the average duration. This is the average duration from when we see the signal to when we expect the squeeze to fire. Now, typically, in this case, that's been 7.4 days since we're on the daily time frame. Now, the first signal fired on July 31st. We are well past that 7-day mark. In fact, right now, we're getting close to 25 calendar days, 18 trading days. So that's telling us that we're really breaking outside of this entire backtest. We're looking for the squeeze to roll over. At least rather, that's what I'm looking for. I don't think that this squeeze has a lot of legs in it in spite of this crazy rally that we've seen inside of Seagate. Really since what, about April till this high from today, Seagate has rallied nearly 160% from, if we take a look at the extensions, the 0.236 extension all the way up to the 1618. To me, it's time for Seagate to take a bit of a breather, and all of our stats are pointing to that as well. I'm looking more to play this to the short side, trying to get this average loss to be what I'm aiming for in terms of my winner, what I'm aiming for the bearish side. I want to see Seagate roll over about 12-ish%, and in fact, your stop might be something like a risk of 4 or 5% to see or get that 12% in exchange. That seems like a much better strategy inside of Seagate, just waiting for signs for that momentum to slow down and roll over. But so far, the numbers are telling us that. On the 4-hour chart, we're starting to see all of these overbought confirmation signals. Again, for all Volatility Box members, you can download all of the Squeeze tools, including the Backtester, in our Squeeze course page, along with all of the downloads. Be sure to watch the actual modules. They provide a nice foundation for how these tools are built, how to use them, and I think really helps understand what's going on underneath the hood to build confidence in trades like this, to identify setups like this. I'll see you in the next update. Take care, everyone. Feel free to send us an email if you have any questions.